I remember I was on an underground train with a boyfriend, and he suddenly noticed that I couldn't actually read some adverts that were within about sort of 2 or 3 yards. And he urged me to go and get my eyesight checked out at that point, really. I was diagnosed with AMD when I was about 19. I had a sort of what is supposed to be a hereditary form called Stargardt's disease. And ever since then, I've sort of just managed to sort of cope with it, really. When I wanted to work, that was, I was confronted with very menial work, and I had a reasonably good education, so I just never ever got the mental stimulation within my work that I would have really enjoyed. I couldn't copy type, and I couldn't work in a shop because I couldn't see a cash register. And in the end, most of my working life was spent in sort of doing care work, really, which I quite enjoyed, but it was actually physically very strenuous, really. But having said that, it brought me into contact with old people, so who were suffering with AMD. And so because I had it myself, I was able to give them that sort of special understanding. It was the fact that they seemed to have been rather abandoned, and whereas I had all my visual aids well and truly set up, old people just seemed to be abandoned, and they didn't even know about visual aids. They didn't know what they were entitled to. Well, really, I relied on magnifiers, which over the years have got stronger and stronger. I think I started off with a +6 initially, and I've gradually, now I have to use a +9 or a +10, and I now have to use lights as well because I have early cataracts. I use colour a lot. I use I have red handles to my knives, and my purse is red so that I can see it in my handbag, and generally I sort of managed to cope with it, really, in a fairly positive way. It's the public perception of you. It is the fact that you don't look as though there's anything wrong with you, and they either think you're being lazy when you say and you can't, and that you should wear your glasses, or they think that you're going to fall over all the time, and they sort of want to wrap you up in cotton wool. People are well-meaning, but it is very difficult for people to understand exactly what you can and you can't see. Once you retire, that you then find that being visually impaired is more of a problem, really, because you have all this leisure to fill it up, and when you can't see, you can't drive, and it's the fact that you still want to go on being independent when you're retired. I don't honestly ever remember getting sad about it. I just felt, life is too short for self-pity. It was just sort of really making the best of things, really. And I have a great love of music, and as long as I could hear my music, that was my great love, really. And there were I enjoyed life in so many other ways. My advice to people who have been diagnosed is to join organisations, every organisation that is interested in or is supportive of the condition, and to do as much research as they can into what will help them. Also, as I say, visual aids are really vital, but I think some people will immediately go out and spend a vast amount of money on equipment, sort of thousands of pounds, because they're just desperate. And quite often, it's not what they really need. An awful lot of visual aid equipment is very expensive, and there are often much cheaper options. If you go to exhibitions, they're always very crowded, but just explore the visual aids particularly, and join organisations that sort of self-help groups and everything specifically like that, and persevere. If you find when you can't first use a magnifier, people tend to try and hold it at a distance, whereas invariably you have to hold it right up in your eye to get the full benefit of it. They try to use it in the wrong way. And also equally, if you love books, really have audiobooks. Although you've always read, have audiobooks. Don't struggle and go on struggling trying to read, because I find my audiobooks invaluable, really. Just as I say, approach it with sort of a sort of spirit of challenge, challenge, and the fact that you're not going to be beaten, really.